I'm delighted that you can at least hear my voice, and for that I'm grateful to Giovanni, who agreed that I could send you a message. And I'm sorry I'm not able to come to this meeting. So I thought I would share with you what have I been doing since Joya Marconi thought I should get a Marconi award. I think she made a mistake. I'm not like most of you. You're far more capable. You've done many, many more things. So if it was a mistake, I want to tell you what was the mistake about. I got excited about the possibility way back in early 70s that through a satellite broadcast we could reach the most distant villages in our country, villages which had people who had never even turned a knob on anything. There were no knobs, no radio, no television. There was no television in India except in Delhi and Bombay for 1 hour or 2 hours a day. And we wanted to use satellite television for education and development. This means that receiving antennas which were 3 meters wide, an 860 megahertz transponder which was specially put on ATS-6, an American satellite. They agreed to loan us the satellite, rather move it over Lake Victoria so that it was visible from India. And that was a marvelous agreement with NASA. We had to do a whole lot of hard work, ground stations, receiving stations. Nothing was available in the market, nowhere, not in your country, not anywhere in the world, low noise amplifiers, anything. We had to develop all that. And we said, what can we do? And the question came, okay, you'll be able to abolish distance. You might be able to. We didn't know whether it'll work. It was the first direct television broadcast experiment in the world. So, but all the same, supposing you are able to jump over the distance, what will you tell a villager sitting far out? You don't know his language, you don't know how he lives, you don't know what he dreams about. What would you do? And that is what made the real complication of the experiment, how you talk to them. I believe that we should try to teach them some science. And I always believe science is learned through experiments. But when I went around to hundreds of these villages, thousands of kilometers apart, they were one-room schools, many of them without even a blackboard. Leave aside any laboratory with which they could do experiments. And I didn't know what to do. So we discussed and we worried and so, and finally I made a credo that the purpose of these science program would be to help children realize that science is everywhere. That's in their kitchen, it's around their bicycle, it's in the bullock cart, village pond, kites they fly, and connect them with that and help them develop a feeling that world can be understood, and through understanding you can begin to do something. And that is the science you want to communicate. When this was then brought to fresh new producers coming from the Film Institute and so on, they got very excited about this, and it was an amazing kind of a thing. None of us knew any technology. We had to learn the broadcasting technology, we had to learn making programs, we had to learn making studios, and besides that we had to do all the technology of earth stations and receiving stations and so on. So at a time when the center where I was, which I helped set up, the Space Application Center, we may have had 1200 or 1000 engineers, but we ended up simultaneously having about 250 social scientists, communication people who went to the villages, prepared their audience profiles. And that is the connectivity which has stayed with me all my life. The intimacy and cosmic consciousness. That you can bridge the distances, but unless you address the particularities and mix with how people grow up, you don't communicate very well. That lasted quite a while, over a decade and a half. Then I had to move on. And there are many people then who came later. And it's amazing that that's the experiment whose success justified that India should have a space program, that India should have satellites of its own. Now it looks funny at this time, that's old history, but now we have so many broadcast satellites, all kinds of bands, so many remote sensing satellites, and incidentally all started by this, in a real sense. While one was learning to make tiny baby rockets and how to build satellites, this was going on. What would you do if satellites were built for meteorology, for remote sensing, for all things, and ultimately for going to the moon and maybe having people in orbit? So when one ventured into other fields, I don't know, I feel that I've been doing just the same thing all my lives. Wherever I go, this way of thinking stays with me. I was in the University Grants Commission as chairman. University Grants Commission in India was the organization which looked after all the universities of the country. And we had set up a large number, quite a few, production centers in the universities, hoping that academics should get involved in what the messages should be and how they should be communicated. And this grew and grew and grew, and a lot of people entered, new technology happened, and I am speaking to you from the studios of one of these places, a place called Center for Educational Communication, Consortium for Educational Communication, consortium meaning a lot of people get together to do this. So this consortia grew. This will go on growing. Internet has come, computers have come, so all kinds of combinations are occurring. But this program straight away gave also a kind of spirit to other programs which developed. For example, in the same Space Application Center, satellite remote sensing was started. And now we have a large number of remote sensing satellites. And they are not just technology centers. The amount of work which is being done with remote sensing all through is amazing. It's very different from anywhere else. The space people take care how to broadcast, make broadcasts to fishermen who are out fishing where to go to find fish. How to find places where you can start digging with the better hope of getting water underneath. How to lay all kinds of irrigation systems and so on, so it has soaked into agriculture colleges, agriculture universities, geology, geophysics, everybody. And it has gone much beyond space. In communication, with the help of again